We're all taught the same thing, right? To get ahead, to succeed, you just need more. More money, more people, more time, just more. But what if that whole idea is not just wrong, but is actually the very thing that's holding you back? Today, we are going to dismantle that more is more myth. We'll look at two completely opposite ways of thinking. One that pretty much guarantees collapse, and another that can build an empire out of almost nothing. We're talking about chasing versus stretching.
So picture this. It's the dot-com boom in Silicon Valley. That quote, that's exactly how it felt. And the author of our source material today, Scott Sonnenschein, he was right there in the thick of it. He joined this hot startup that seemed to have everything. Top investors, cash pouring in, even a pantry overflowing with free stacks. I mean, the feeling was that getting rich wasn't a possibility, it was an inevitability. And then, poof. Almost overnight, the whole thing just burst. And that experience, watching this company with all the money in the world just implode, it sparked this one huge question. It's a puzzle that sent him on a 15-year journey to figure out. Why is it that some people, some companies, can achieve incredible things with next to nothing, while others who have everything handed to them fail spectacularly? That is the question we're going to get to the bottom of.
Okay, so the answer starts with understanding a really common trap that, let's be honest, almost all of us fall into at some point. It's a mindset that our source material calls the chasing trap.
So what exactly is chasing? Well, it's this deep-seated belief that the solution to every single problem is to get something new. You need to acquire more stuff. And what fuels this? It's something deeply human. We compare ourselves to others. We're constantly looking at what's in everyone else's hands, and that makes us feel like our own hands are empty.
And this whole social comparison thing leads to some really weird results. Get this. Researchers studied Olympic athletes and found something totally bizarre. Bronze medalists are almost always happier than silver medalists. How on earth is that possible? Well, it's because silver medalists are looking up. They're torturing themselves thinking, I almost got gold. But the bronze medalists, they're looking down. They're just thinking, wow, at least I got a medal. I'm on the podium. It just goes to show you that drive to chase is so often defined by who you're standing next to.
And in the business world, this chasing mindset, it can be absolutely fatal. Let me tell you about Stroh's Brewery. Back in the 1980s, these guys were giants. I mean, one of the top 3 beer producers in the entire country. They had immense resources, a huge market share, everything.
Stroh's whole strategy was pure uncut chasing. Their motto was basically grow or go. They just started buying up all their competitors, taking on insane amounts of debt, all because they were obsessed with getting bigger and bigger. But this nonstop pursuit of more just completely crushed them. They had all these breweries, all these brands, but they couldn't manage them effectively, and the company, a titan of the industry, completely collapsed.
This quote from a 5th-generation member of the Stroh family, man, it just says everything. They were one of the biggest players in the game, but their strategy of chasing more left them so buried in debt and chaos that they were powerless. They had this massive arsenal, but they couldn't even use it.
So, if chasing is the trap, what's the way out? Well, the opposite of chasing isn't just, settling for less. No, it's a way more powerful mindset. It's called stretching.
See, stretching is the polar opposite of chasing, and it's a skill you can learn. It's a mindset that stops asking, what do I need to go out and get? And starts asking, what can I do with what I already have right here? It's all about seeing the incredible, hidden potential in the resources that are already yours.
Let's rewind back to that brewery story. So, while Stroh's was out there chasing, a much smaller rival, Yuengling, was stretching. The owner, Dick Yuengling, he completely rejected that whole grow or go idea. When he needed new brewing tanks, he didn't buy fancy new ones, he bought used ones. Instead of spending millions on ads, he just leaned into his company's cool history as America's oldest brewery. He even limited where they sold their beer, which created this sense of scarcity and a crazy cult-like following. And the result? While the chasers, Stroh's, went bankrupt, the stretcher, Yuengling, absolutely thrived.
Now, this stretching mindset isn't just for big companies. Let me tell you about a guy named Daniel Norris. He was a top baseball pitching prospect, and back in 2011, he got a signing bonus from the Toronto Blue Jays for $2 million.
Not long after that, his new teammates all went on this epic 3-hour shopping spree at a mall, dropping tens of thousands of dollars. And Daniel Norris? His only purchase of the day was a single Converse t-shirt that he found on sale for $14. He said, just 'cause money's there doesn't mean that you gotta have nicer things than you used to. He chose to stretch, not to chase. And this right here, it reveals a fundamental secret about the stretching mindset. We are all taught to see constraints, a lack of time or money or tools as a bad thing. But what if they're actually a secret weapon? What research shows is that scarcity actually makes us more creative. It forces us to see new ways to use the things we already have. Constraints aren't a barrier, they're a catalyst.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually do this? How do we start stretching in our own lives? Well, it all begins with one really simple shift. You have to prioritize action over endless planning.
Take the incredible story of filmmaker Robert Rodriguez. He was desperate to make his first feature film, a little movie called El Mariachi. The problem? He had no industry connections, no big crew, and definitely no budget. All he had was $7,000 that he earned by being a human guinea pig in a medical research study.
So, instead of chasing some six-figure budget he was never going to get, he just embraced his constraints and started acting with what he had. And his philosophy here is so powerful. He says you don't wait for inspiration to strike before you act. No, you act first, and that action is what creates the inspiration. If you wait, you're never going to do anything.
So what were these Hollywood resources he used? Well, a friend's ranch became his movie set. He used a wheelchair as a camera dolly to get smooth shots. Desk lamps became his professional lighting rig, and he even met one of his main actors at the same medical facility where he got his funding. He stretched every single thing he had to its absolute limit, and that $7,000 movie, it went on to make over $2 million at the box office.
So, how can you start doing this right now? Here are 3 simple steps. First, take an inventory of your junk. And by junk, I mean all the skills, the people you know, the random stuff you have lying around that you might be overlooking. Second, on your very next project, intentionally embrace a constraint. Give yourself way less time or a much smaller budget than you think you need. And third, and this is the most important one, just start. Act first with whatever you have and let the plan figure itself out as you go.
You know, when you boil it all down, the biggest lesson here is that we are all so much richer than we think we are. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. What hidden asset, what overlooked skill, what untapped relationship do you already have in your life that could be the key to your next big thing? What resource are you overlooking right now?